So we're now transitioning more into an investor focus, which I think is interesting. I think we've talked about where the money could go, from Tyler and his insights. Now we're going to talk about where the investors are looking. So I'm excited. Let me make sure Daisy is on her way. She is.
There we go.
Awesome. Daisy, once we get your camera and mic turned on, we'd love to hear how you are doing today.
Hi, Daisy.
Hi. Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
You guys, I met Daisy in LA at one of Merida's very cool poolside dinners. And I felt like such a schlub next to all these incredibly cool people. And Daisy was hobnobbing and doing her thing. It was awesome.
That was already 2.5 years ago now.
Yeah, believe me, we have, well, I won't say we, I'll say I have aged rapidly in those 2.5 years. So
y'all throw a mean pool party, and that seems to be the trend with the Miami one this past year too. So I mean, Merida's pool parties are a staple, apparently.
Yes.
Hopefully they will become so. We'll see.
There you go. There you go. Well, Daisy, what's new for our investors and folks watching? Tell us a little bit about you and your role at Merida and what you guys have been up to.
Well, we've been busy. I've been incredibly busy. So I'm the president of Merida, and basically, I think probably most people watching this are going to know Mitch or know about Mitch Berowitz, our managing partner. He's a very forward-looking, sort of big picture kind of guy. And ever since I joined Merida, I've been sort of his right-hand person. If he's sort of directing the ship forward, I'm sort of making sure that it's staying afloat, I suppose, or, building out the infrastructure. When I joined him a couple of years ago, late 2017, it was still a very small fund. And I think they had 7 million or so under management. And we've since grown pretty astronomically. And that's taken a lot of build out, a lot of institutionalization of the company. So I've sort of been on that side of the fence, just dealing with, building what we need from a compliance perspective, from a fund structuring perspective, from, just answering to our investors and making sure that they have, this well-built institution that they bought into when they came on board. So, I mean, everything but really looking at companies is what I'm responsible for spearheading. It's a big job. It's kept us all very busy.
So let me ask one more question, Elliot. But what was it like? What was it like this past year? It was an insane year, right? There was still a decent amount of business that got done, right? But I don't think there was any, there's any secret that there was a massive capital crunch out there. So what was it like running a fund during that time period?
Well, most extraordinarily, to do it remotely was, quite a challenge. I mean, it's been a challenging year for everybody. I mean, the first month or two of 2020, well, we were coming off the vape crisis, right? So the industry had already experienced this massive crisis and issue, which, got resolved and it actually helped to formalize this beginning of this movement from this illicit market to the legal market, because people want safe product. And so speaking of safe product, when we saw everything tank, the first month or two of 2020, COVID, while it has become, this ridiculous disaster, both, globally, economically, individually, in a big way, actually, it served as a massive tailwind for this industry in particular. And that's kept us incredibly busy. There's a lot of opportunity that's actually come out of the pandemic. When you talk about people needing access to safe cannabis, that expedited a lot of regulation on a state-by-state level that may have taken quite significantly longer. If you have curbside pickup at a dispensary in Michigan, you probably wouldn't have seen that, for another couple months, if not a year. And suddenly that was made possible. So you have consumers who are A, consuming more under the circumstances, and B, looking to find their product in a safe environment. So they know it's tested, they have the distance. So it really opened up the opportunity. And then, of course, when you have states looking to cannabis to bridge the big deficit that has been a result of COVID, it changes the game from a normalization perspective. So, it's been a busier year than I've ever experienced professionally in my life.
Wow.
All the Zoom meetings. So, along with COVID, the discussion here, along the lines, I'd love to understand a little bit about Merida's, how instrumental you were in perhaps your portfolio companies adjusting to the pandemic. Were you as a team there to help adjust to maybe an e-commerce platform, or figuring out how to provide that safe cannabis to the consumer? I'm curious if you all had a part in that.
I would say that to be true for the our vertical as operators. So, to take a step back, when we invest in a company, we don't really, it's not like we're traders. We don't just, give them a bunch of money, walk away, and come back in a couple of years hoping that, it was a solid return. We invest in a company, and then we effectively help that company grow under any circumstances. So, we also act as, pretty significant operators. I dare say we're, pretty competitive with some of those publicly traded MSOs, just given our footprint. So, from a dispensary or cultivation perspective, there's a lot of, things that had to come into play to meet the needs and regulations of a COVID environment. But just overall, we're constantly helping our companies grow and adapt and, prepare themselves for the, this hopefully, this onslaught that if and when it comes in terms of, deregulation.
That's awesome. I assume so. I was just curious to what extent Merida would play in that. Moving along, though, I know COVID is, it's still and will be for a little while a topic on everybody's lips, but you all have female-led portfolio companies. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and the initiative there?
We not only have, a bunch of female-led companies, we are pretty deeply invested in minorities in general. In fact, this morning, my brother sent me an article in Wall Street Journal. Jay-Z, I think, just launched a fund to invest in minorities specifically. And that's fantastic. And it's a big ticket. We've actually been doing that now for about 2 years when, we launched an I2 accelerator program, which was an initiative just to direct funding where it needed to go. And not just, to invest in these companies, but to foster their growth, to help them along, to help them with their balance sheets, and to really give them a footing. Now, a couple of these companies are female owned and run and operated. One of them in particular that we're really excited about is called High Road, and it's a woman who essentially created a delivery app. And she launched it in DC, it's gone to Maryland, and now in tandem with what we call Dharma Pharmaceuticals is a big footprint we have in Virginia, which is also actually a woman at the helm there too. We're the first to bring medicine to Virginia patients. And so, using her app in tandem with Dharma, it helps both of them grow, which is something that Mitch has always been very good at doing in terms of taking one portfolio company, plugging into another, and sort of creating a very organic ecosystem, within our portfolio. But back to the women, New Frontier Data was one of our, first investments. Mitch has been very close with them since the get-go, and that's, I think the industry in general has really benefited from what they provide, which, business intellect, data analytics. If you're looking to do anything in cannabis, you would do well to have, access to their platform because of the analytics they can provide just from, for consumers or whatever marketing you need to do. You'll understand your consumer much better just by, using her platform. I can't say that we have made any decisions except for the I2 accelerator based on, whether or not it's a male or a female. We look for opportunity. And we dig deep to find those opportunities. And it's fantastic that we've been able to foster women-owned and operated companies, but that hasn't been a prerequisite for our choosing. That said, within Merida itself, there's been an enormous amount of opportunity for women. I'm speaking with you guys. I was given this opportunity a couple of years ago, and here I am. And we have women on our team who come from all kinds of backgrounds, and who have just been given this amazing, opportunity to take the reins and run with it. And
I think that's so cool. And just for clarity, Daisy's saying that Jay-Z is late to the game.
I do
investing.
He's late to the game. I think he read one of our white papers.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what she's saying. So Jay-Z, sorry, pal. But a couple of things that I want to take from this. I think investing in minority-owned businesses in this space is a really hot topic right now. And you don't need me to say that, some white guy up here mansplaining it. But when it comes to how people are doing that, I don't think anybody's solved it yet, right? You've got some companies that are looking to franchise. You've got some companies that are looking to build accelerators, right? But the real thing at the end of the day, especially in talking with some heads of state government licensing agencies, I've found that what these people really want is the chance to learn how to build a business, right? A lot of them are happy to jump in, but they don't know how to build it. Mm-hmm. So I think what you guys do is pretty cool in terms of sticking around, trying to foster that growth and that entrepreneurship. I think that's really cool.
Well, I think that's been our differentiator all along. We invest in a company and we stick around where we have friends and family of Merida, who have earned the role, but who are board members, or who, Mitch is constantly in contact with all of our portfolio companies. We have people within Merida themselves who are experts in their own field, and they come from the Goldmans of the world and they know what they're doing, and they're plugged in on a daily basis with their little subset of portfolio companies, which it just benefits everybody. And just to go back to your point about the importance of focusing on the minorities and focusing on sort of doing what we can as people who hope to endeavor to profit off this industry, to make it a fair game and to go back and sort of rectify some of those wrongs. It's important to mention, actually, in the state licensing program, which is a very robust and extremely difficult thing to navigate and penetrate. A lot of the requirements for getting a license is to have a very robust description of how you're going to benefit a community that suffered as a result of the war on drugs and its focus on marijuana. So it's a good thing to note. It is happening. Jay-Z or no Jay-Z, it's something that people are really beginning to focus on in our industry, and Merida in particular.
And rightfully so. So I've got to jump to the chat for a second. We're getting some good stuff in here. So James asks, question for Daisy: is there any progress update with Merida Merger Corp, MCMG, if I'm getting that right?
Yes.
As they're coming up on their deadline in about 8 months or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to speak to that at all.
I can't. I won't, unfortunately. There has been progress. First of all, it's not my wheelhouse, and even if it were, I would probably say I can't divulge anything. I want to be able to give a lot of details about what people have investigating and what deals we've noodled over. There are some things that are very interesting, and that's kind of all I can say. I do hope to have one of my colleagues come back soon and talk about it in greater detail when we finally closed a deal. But yeah, not all just
good.
Yet.
I can feel my phone blowing up from Mitch in a second.
James, how dare you?
James, gosh, come on, man. So other than someone else thinking Dharma Pharma is a catchy name, I think you guys are clearly doing something interesting, right? And I feel like I talked to Mitch a long time ago, and something that he said to me really rang true. Data. And obviously we know New Frontier. We know the value that they bring. We know a bunch of the other portfolio companies. But having access to the data collected in this industry is an advantage, bar none, I think, in terms of what's out there. So I don't know if there's anything to that might ring true for you.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things that Mitch would convey on any phone call with anybody is just how much data consumption the Merida team does on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. I mean, we have 25 people on our team now, and we are primarily focused on taking that data, manipulate it, and digging through to find the opportunity. And we are invested pretty deeply now in companies that are data-driven as well. If you think about the next opportunity, or what we see, the next big opportunity in cannabis, it's going to be medical. And medical data is just a phenomenally large and tremendous opportunity. Skylight Health, it used to be CB2, is a big play. We're deeply proud of what we've done with them and where they've gone. But it's all about knowing what's out there. It's all about being able to slice and dice that data to understand who the customers are, who the consumers are, where the industry is heading. I can't stress it enough, and I can't stress enough how deeply committed Mitch is to crunching through as much data as he can possibly get his hands on.
Kind of important, yeah.
When looking at new investments, and I understand that's not necessarily what you do at Merida, but I'm curious on the executive teams of the companies you all represent. Do you see more changeover towards CPG, veterans, or are a lot of these perhaps legacy growers still leading the helm at some of your companies? I'm just curious what your thoughts are in terms of these new executive teams and where that takes us into 2021.
We do see some transition. I think the biggest thing I would highlight is recently a former board member of Home Depot is now working with GrowGen, and I mean obviously GrowGen has done a tremendously well in the past couple months, year. Some of our companies aren't there yet. Our product companies, the CPG or the will be CPG companies aren't quite there, but that's on everybody's mind. I mean, CPG and what it takes to become an effective CPG and how we get there. And that's just not marketing and branding, of course, but it's all about the replication of the formulas, the replication of the product. So it's something that we do, have on our radar. We think about a lot, but our private companies aren't quite yet poised to get some of these CEOs from existing CPG companies on their boards just yet. But again, as we see this industry take off and compete with tobacco, and collectively with tobacco, eventually start competing with even alcohol, which I don't think is a far-fetched thing to say. We're obviously going to need to transition, pretty quickly to meet that need.
No kidding. Well, for the chat too, just to clarify, Skylight Health, I believe it's SHGFF. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Daisy.
Yes, that is
SHGFF, and then GrowGen, favorite stock of mine. Obviously, I'm not recommending the stock, but I know I'm in it. It's GRWG, and then they are on the NASDAQ. Great company. So I'll leave you with one last question, Daisy. Technology. Right. You guys have been big into technology since the beginning. It's another aspect of the data play Mitch has always talked to me about, I know. But I know some of us are interested in sort of where the next wave of entrepreneurs are coming from. We're going to see a ton of consolidation this year. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But technology, especially in this space, do you see that being the catalyst this year in terms of where that next wave comes from? Is Merida looking into those tech opportunities? You mentioned your female-led delivery app. I'd love to just leave our audience with that.
I think that technology is at the forefront, and it is the key to the optimization of the supply chain, right? So,
I like that.
You can't meet, for example, the needs of a state. So when a state goes legal, with legalization comes deep regulation. And, let's take a cultivator in California who prior to, California's legalization may not have had the most robust books and records. And suddenly legalization happens and the state kind of swoops in, and now their compliance demands, their audit demands, tracking their seed to sale, all of this is suddenly paramount to the existence of their business. Well, how are they going to meet those needs? All of that is technology driven, and be it an app that tracks where their drivers are going, be it something like Simplify that provides applications for compliance, be it delivery, the kind of technology that's allowing us to measure how much CBD versus THC is in any inhale that we take. Technology is going to continue to drive this industry forward, especially, in terms of helping people keep their business going smoothly and meeting all those requirements I mentioned.
Awesome. Well, Daisy, you are a wealth of knowledge. I love that you are leading this fund with Mitch, and I look to see you many, many more times on our platform. So thanks for joining us today.
I look forward to that very, very much. And thanks
Thank
for
you so
having me,
much,
guys.
Daisy. Really happy you were with us.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, wealth of knowledge is an understatement. I'll say that with her still on, darn it. No, I was going to ask.